Hello and welcome back or welcome to the channel. I'm Loudguns and today we're just going to do another quick breakdown of mining and crafting updates, because after my last video that I put out last week, a couple of things have really changed which I think are worth drawing attention to. As ever, in a PTU phase, everything's still up in the air and subject to change, so these may also get obsoleted pretty quickly. But just because I think this is one really good one and one potentially poor one that needs a bit more feedback, I thought this video was worth making. Since it's an Evocati PTU, we're still under the tell don't show restrictions, so I'm afraid you'll just need to make do with my stock mole mining footage and a few visual aids that I might be able to put together. And in the interest of keeping this short and sweet, we'll forego the intro, but please do hit pause and grab yourself a cup of tea, and then let's get into it. So first up, we've got a change to mining, again, that I think a lot of people will like based on the comments I received on my last video. In the last crafting test build, rocks only contained a single mineable ore. You would get a rock marked as aluminium, and it would only contain aluminium and inert materials. Sorry to my American friends for my pronunciation there. Now in what I'm hoping is going to be the final iteration of this, we've got some level of walkback. Some rocks, like iron ore, are always going to be just iron and inert materials. Other rocks contain 2, 3 or 4 materials, and I've heard tell on the grapevine that there are more that contain even more than that, but just based on what I saw and took note of, 4 was the max that I found. So just for an example, Hephaestonite rocks contain Hephaestonite, raw silicon and quartz. Corundum rocks contain corundum and aluminium, as well as inert materials fleshing out the rest. So while we've got that degree of variability back, it's not as much as it was before. So in sort of 4.6 and before, we had a base metal in a rock, so something like iron or corundum would be the base metal in every rock in a cluster. But then there was massive variation in what else they could contain. So in a single iron cluster, for example, you might find individual rocks containing iron and bexolite, then another one with iron and gold, and another one with iron, taranite and quantanium. Now if I find a cluster of corundum, every single one of those rocks will contain corundum and aluminium and inert. And if we go to a different planet and find another cluster of corundum, that's also going to contain those same materials. So they can vary in terms of the quality and the quantity, i.e. the percentage composition might vary, but they'll display uniformity in terms of the types of materials in the composition. So I think this is a best of both worlds change. They've kind of hit the Goldilocks porridge, having gone a bit too hot and a bit too cold. Many people didn't like the simplification of the rocks with just one material and inert, so the additional complexity is back in the mix. But the way it's presented now retains some of the good things about the simplification. In effect, when you want to go and find a certain material, you can head to a certain planet where you know it spawns and farm it quite reliably. Plus, when you find a cluster of it, you've got a bunch of it to go for. My only criticism here really is the massive variability in terms of quality within each rock. So there's no uniformity in quality, so taking our corundum example, because it's nice and simple, you could have poor quality corundum mixed with high quality aluminium. You also have massive variability between the different rocks within the cluster. So personally I think mining gameplay should be more about mining and less about scanning, and while with these changes you can narrow your search a lot, chances are that we're still going to be spending a lot of time scanning every rock in every cluster that we stop at, hoping that we find high-grade mats worth crafting with. If it were up to me, I would probably introduce more uniformity in terms of quality, so that if you find a good cluster, you can set up and strip mine the whole thing with your crew. But if you find a bad one, you know as soon as you've scanned one rock and can just move along. Something which is currently in, which I really hope they keep in and they don't go back another step. I really like the rocks just being called what the main material in it is. So we've got aluminium rocks, we've got corundum rocks. Previously they had all these things like you would get gneiss deposits or obsidian deposits, and you had to know what the probability of certain mats being in that were like. And I think just calling the rocks after the main composite ingredient is just so much more friendly, particularly to new players coming in. But the other big thing to discuss here is how we're going to be acquiring blueprints. CIG have introduced a RNG based drop system from missions, with a roughly 25% chance on mission completion to get awarded a blueprint. Hard info on this is really light right now, and the patch notes state it includes ghillie, FPS and industrial missions, but leave the door open to it being much more than that. Blueprints are hardbound to your account, with a message popping up on screen to inform you that you've received a blueprint upon mission completion, much like the reward messages for the recent events like Alliance Aid. Now this is where I would jump straight in and highlight that this is almost certainly a placeholder mechanic, and just functions as a delivery mechanism to get us to earn blueprints now until they can develop something better. But as ever, I do come at things from the perspective of wanting to enjoy the game that we have in the here and now. And this already feels pretty trash to me, I'm not gonna lie. Partly I would say it's clouded by the current live experience in 4.6 with the sheer amount of missions that bug out partway through or just don't complete when you get to the end. I've also moaned at length about RNG. It was a focus of my gripes over the Wicklow system before the devs relented and adjusted things, but we're seeing some of the same issues re-emerge here. For instance, armour blueprints are divided into the constituent parts of an armour set, so I might get awarded helmet, arms and legs for a full set of armour, but then roll the dice over and over without getting the torso or the backpack for ages, which is likely to just get incredibly frustrating. The other big issue with this system is that it makes blueprint farming very, very individualistic. Since the BPs awarded are tied to the recipient, there's no way to trade for blueprints, or for an org to focus blueprints onto a specific person or group, so that they can be responsible for manufacturing gear for everyone else. It's just luck of the draw. Also, let's face it, if mission rewards turn out to be shared, then we're likely to just undermine all of this by forming giant blueprint farming mission groups in the same way we've done to complete Alliance Aid or to farm rep. Now personally, I think the answer is a blueprint shop. But since I completely get CIG's reticence over making everything available too quickly, particularly given the current state of the economy with all the cash exploits, I think this could be the perfect time to introduce a new currency, or rather a new use for an existing one. MG and Council Script are already awarded for completing certain types of verified and unverified mercenary missions, with their only current purpose being to trade for Wicklow favours. Now I think these would make the perfect currency for a guild shop that sells blueprints, and furthermore I think CIG could use exactly the same reward system they have in place for those to introduce Industrial Guild Script for the mining and the salvage contracts. The Merc Guild, Council and Industry Guild could then have shops located across the verse where you take your script and turn it in for blueprints that you want. There could be a degree of differentiation in terms of what's on sale. Maybe you could get the best FPS weapons from the Merc Guild, or the best ship components when those come into the crafting tree from the Industrial Guild. And this would encourage those who want to play alone to get out and experience a variety of game loops, or to trade between each other to get access to the things that they want. It would allow orgs to pool resources to unlock the required blueprints for specific crafters, rewarding working together. Anyway, please like and subscribe if you think I've earned it, and do let me know what you think down in the comments, and ping me with any questions that you'd like answered about the current PTU's mining and crafting updates. I might not have the answers, but it could help with testing focus for these things ahead of the launch of Wave 1. With all that said, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.